Hey everybody, and welcome to the Rock and Roll Farming Podcast. And today I am very excited to be heading down to one of my favourite places in the UK, beautiful Dorset, to talk to dairy farmer Sophie Gregory. Sophie, how are you?
Yeah, great, Will. So nice to be on here.
You're a dairy farmer. What time did you get up this morning?
I wasn't actually at home this morning, so that is normally I'd be up at about 4:30, but I've just been away for a
Oh my
meeting. But
God.
not, yeah, I know, scandalous. A dairy farmer not up to milk their cows. Normally it's about 4:30, but this morning
Half
they were.
four.
I know it's early, isn't it? It's okay
God.
this time of year, Will, just because it's just. I don't really tend to draw my curtains, so wake up naturally with the light. It's really lovely. It's just in the winter it can be pretty brutal. So
Yeah, and I
yeah.
suppose you get a bit of nice dawn chorus action this time of year.
Oh, definitely. The birds are always in full flow.
Yeah, I can't even fathom getting up at four. This is why I'm not a dairy farmer anymore. You see, 4:30 is God, it's truth. Anyway, okay.
I'm a terrible evening person, though. Well, come 9 o'clock, I'm pretty hopeless. So
Oh
I,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Okay.
yeah,
My
I'm not
my
a
wife's
sleeper.
like that. We're incompatible. She's a lark and I'm an owl, and yeah, I think a lot of couples like that, aren't they? You get one of each,
Definitely.
one of
Yeah.
each. Tell me about the area of Dorset where you live.
So yeah, we've been here. It's actually 11 years now, which is mad. It's beautiful. We're on. Well, actually, the people always say Dorset, Devon, or Somerset, but we've got fields in all three. But
Okay.
I always say Dorset because well, we pay council tax to Dorset, but we've got a Somerset postcode, so it's a very strange situation, but it's really beautiful. We're about 8 miles inland from Lyme Regis.
Okay.
So we can see the sea from some of the fields, and we should grow quite a lot of grass. Should catch a bit of the rain coming off the coast, but it doesn't always happen. But we moved here for a business opportunity. I grew up about an hour north of here, so yeah, we've. I'm not born and bred from this part of the world, but I have fallen massively in love with it.
It is gorgeous, isn't it? Some of our best friends farm near Dorchester, and
Oh yeah.
it's we went down to see them recently. It's just lovely. I can't think of many
Mm.
nicer places in the UK, but there's a lot of dairy farms around there, isn't there? A lot of big dairy herds.
Yeah, a lot of big dairy herd, a lot of grazing herds around there,
Yeah,
just because of growing grass. Actually, quite a lot of organic farms.
yeah.
Interesting. We've got like a big hub of, got a couple of families who have multiple units, so that yeah, in our area. So yeah, a lot of organic, just because of the grass growth. I think
Mm.
it suits the system. So yeah, a lot of cows, a lot of actually small farms as well. We've got
Mhm.
a local farm down the road run by two brothers, 70 cows, and yeah, I mean they're brilliant. Everyone says I talk about them the whole time, but they are fantastic. Just how farming always was. They grow a bit of wheat. The cows go out the same day every year. They just very much traditional, but they've kept going through the highs and lows, and I've got a lot of respect for them.
Oh, wonderful.
They're
That's
brilliant.
lovely.
Yeah, it's really nice.
Yeah, we've got quite a few those kind of farms still around us as well. Sort of less than 100 cows, kind of. I think they're going less and less, but there is still quite a few. There's something about it, isn't there? It's a big part of the community.
Massively.
Yeah. So you grew up an hour north. Was that
Yeah.
on a farm or non-farming background?
No, non-farming background in a village. Quite south of Bath. My mum was a vet, and my
Okay.
dad worked in. He was a supermarket buyer actually for some of his career. So sort of the other side of what we do. But no, I always had like animal. My mum, being a vet, we always had animals being brought home. There was always like a
Yeah.
hedgehog in a box, or she did small animal majority, but she did do some large. So I was always around animals. I had a pony, had to cycle. Sort of, I always tell my children who've got ponies now, that I had to cycle across the village to ride a pony, and they're so lucky that they get to just get
Yeah.
on. They don't know how lucky they are. So no, always been around animals, but definitely not cows.
Yeah.
Not yeah, was never part of the plan, but yeah, became part of the plan.
Yeah. So how did it end up as part of the plan? How how,
Um,
how did you end up where
I
you are now?
so I met Tom when I was thinking about this the other day. I was 17. I went and I met Tom, and one of my best friends, Holly, is his cousin, and we were at Glastonbury Festival. We've been going since since I was like two or three. Very young. My family always went. And we ended up camping near each other. And my friends said I was like, yeah, well, when I met Tom, that they knew that I was after Tom. He was absolutely obsessed with the idea of going back dairy farming. His dad had sold the cows when he was 10. So interestingly, we it was always on the agenda. From we had a kid very young, Harry, our first, when we were 18, not, really not so planned at all, sort of on a gap year type thing. And he always said to me, I want to go back dairy farming. And I just sort of thought, oh, it's sort of a pipeline dream. Probably not. He was cattle foot trimming for a local guy. And we looked at maybe 4 or 5 options. Didn't happen. I just thought it's not going to happen. And then we started rearing calves for a guy one of the big dairy farmers locally, organic, and rearing his bull calves because he was shut down with TB.
Mm-hmm.
So we were rearing them for veal, which was, it was going into the supermarket. It never really took off. It was fine as we did it, but it was never, they were trying to expand that market basically. And it just never, I think as a nation, we've never really been able to get to grips with veal as a thing. I think we have a negative association with it. It's a difficult one. So we were in business with him already. And then a farm came up where we are now, and we took the idea to him and said, what do you think? And he said, definitely not. And then we went back again. He thought we were mad, and he was like, I'm not looking for anything else. And then went back quite close to when the application was in, and he said, yeah, okay, let's put some figures in. And we got it. It was 2014, year after we got married, and the milk price was high and strong then. Well, it was a time when you won't, well, we've probably seen it a couple of times since, but it was right at the top, and so the rent was strong. We were having to go in. It was sort of quite high competition. So we never imagined that we'd get it. I think probably the mix was that Mike offered the security. He went in with 80%. We went in with 20% equity, but he had a proven track record. And, at 24 and 25, we had the energy to sort of drive the business forward, and he had the expertise. So it was a really good partnership that lasted 10 years, and it worked really well and kept us massively accountable in terms of making a return on input. We grew our business to 50% of that, grew the farm in terms of numbers and things, and then bought him out last year as his son's coming back to the business and things. So it was one of us was going to buy each other out. It just, we were the ones to buy him out. So we've been sort of solo farming for a year now.
You made all that sound very easy. So we had a child, and then we got a farm, but it absolutely can't have been. First of all, I'm going to take you right back to Glastonbury. Who was playing at? Can you remember anyone who was playing at Glastonbury that year when you met?
It would have been 2000, and I want to say it was sort of the Kooks and stuff like that. Naive, that kind of era.
Yeah, that era. Okay.
Yeah, which I think my kids showed me the other day. The Naive by the Kooks. They're like, oh, I've heard this really cool song. I was like, that is literally 16 years old. It's amazing how these things come back round. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the Kooks era. Yes. So, but you don't remember much of Glastonbury at that age, I think, because there's probably quite a lot of booze involved, and it's but it just the atmosphere, it's changed quite a lot of Glastonbury since that sort of era, but we still go most years, sort of part of our calendar now.
Do you take the kids?
Yeah, always. Yeah. So my eldest is just about to be 16. And so it's, he definitely doesn't want to know us in there. And as you probably know, and then my middleest 30, she still hangs out with us. And then 7-year-old, there's a really good kids area there. It's really great. It's everything from slides to, storytelling to your own, stuff from CB, it's just crazy. It's a kid's heaven. So we definitely go. Tom, my husband, he does work there, and we end up with tickets through that way. He does. He actually takes a slurry tanker, and his friend owns the compost toilets.
Ah,
So
yeah.
they go and they've got the really nice job of tanking. Yeah,
Yeah.
different type,
Yeah.
different type of poo.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And I bet I don't know. I'll bet sometimes you get the response when you tell people you had children so young. I bet sometimes people throw up their hands in horror, don't they? But you
Yeah,
just there's a lot of advantages to that, isn't there? Because your kids, you're kind of close in age and you can hang out,
yeah,
and I mean, I know
yeah,
plenty of
definitely.
people who have kids when they're like late 30s, early 40s, and they look like ghosts because they're so
Yeah,
exhausted.
yeah. No, I definitely think that, and I was very lucky that my parents were never going to let me fail at this, if that makes sense. They
Mm,
were hugely supportive, and it probably made me as driven as I am, but I was very lucky to have
yeah.
the background of good family support. And I think I was talking to a friend the other day about it. I just remember being at a party and two girls behind me saying, "Oh, did you hear that? Sophie Aplin's she's pregnant." And they couldn't tell I was listening, and and the other one said, "Oh, God, she screwed up her life." And I thought, "Oh, that is going to kick me up to do more." So I don't
Yeah.
know. I've had such a supportive family, and there's no way I could have done it without them. But it did give me a bit of a drive, which I'm grateful for, and I have really enjoyed having kids young because I've had the energy.
Yeah.
Uh, it's not been easy, Will. I mean, as in financially, kids are a huge demand on your finances and your time and everything. And when you're trying to grow a business, people often ask me why I've got a 7-year age gap between the middle and the bottom one. And I think because we had the farm, that was the
Yeah.
third baby. The farm came along and took everything. So we just, and we ended up having a third. Tom wanted four, so it was kind of my meet in the middle. Um,
Yeah, wouldn't recommend having four. Do not recommend.
yeah.
1 out of 10. There is enough for anyone.
Yeah. But great fun. I'm very lucky, and like you say, it does get harder as you get older. I think having kids, I
Mm.
feel lucky that it happened. It might not have been such a planned route, but it was obviously meant to happen. So, um, and yeah, I mean, we've Harry's quite involved in the farm in terms of he's better on a tractor than me, and he's Evie's very good with calves and stuff, and try not to be too stereotypical about it, but that's just naturally how they found their place.
Mm.
Harry's just good with machinery, and then Cecily's just easy. At 7, she just wants to be part of everything.
Yeah.
So she's
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. But that must have been when you sort of, again, you kind of made it quite easy. You took on this farm with a young family, even with a lot of family support. That's a big deal.
We were really, really lucky to have such a good mentor. And I was thinking about this the other day. He was, he used to come once a week to begin with, and it was the
Mm.
first time he'd done this relationship before as well. So he'd always had herdsmen in farms. So he already had, I think he had 5 at that point, farms, dairies, like multi-site. But he had a very good system that worked and that was proven to be profitable. So he knew what he was doing, and he was very good at the beginning at saying, right, we're going to set this farm up for the next 10 years. So we did a lot of the work in the first 2 years in terms of the farm got tracked from the bottom to the top, concrete sleepers. We did lots of, fence the whole farm. We did a lot of investing in the farm at the start, which then made it easier throughout the rest of our time there.
Mm.
We're starting to find that we need to do that investment again now for the next 10 years. But
Yeah.
the reason it's been able to be successful is that he was always holding us to account in terms of decisions we made on the farm. And I kind of saw him as like, what Mike says is right. Because I knew nothing about farming, and I never planned to be part of the farm. I was working as an accountant for a rural accountancy firm, because that's what I trained in. But I just found it so boring going into the office. At that point, you couldn't work from home. It was pre-COVID,
Mm.
and it just didn't fulfill me like the weekends working on the farm. So we were looking for staff, and I just said to Tom, what about I give it a go? And I've done it ever since. And I think there is something in seeing, being able to be a really driving force behind something you've heavily invested in, if
Mm.
that makes sense. Like I felt way more part of it being in the day-to-day running of it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And that accountancy background must have come in. extremely handy though at that stage.
Oh, absolutely. And I think even just being able to read a set of
Yeah.
accounts has really helped me. My dad always said to me, you won't regret doing training as an accountant, because even if you don't end up practicing, you can use it in so many. There's some stat, it's a huge percent, like 60% of CEOs of big companies are accountant or engineer trained. Like, it's just such a good thing to have, to do. I'm trying to persuade my children to do something like that at uni if they want to go to uni. I'm not yet managed to convince Harry that they sound attractive. He's still convinced he wants to play rugby professionally, but we'll yeah, just want them to do things they enjoy really deep down. But
Sure.
it's such a useful tool.
Yeah.
I'm very lucky.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you love an Excel spreadsheet?
Oof, I do love an Excel spreadsheet. I think Tom loves an Excel spreadsheet more than me.
Does he? Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
he is a real Excel pro. And I've got Zero, which is a lot of people listening probably use.
Yeah,
It's,
we
accounts
do.
and stuff. Yeah. And it's
Yeah.
just, I love how streamlined it's made our accounts. So, a very boring topic, accounts, but Zero makes it fun, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. It just links all up, and you can get management accounts off it very quickly, and Tom can use it. It's very, yeah, it's great. And I think it's taken the boring bits out of it.
Yeah.
No one really wants to start doing double entry bookkeeping again.
No, no.
Pen and paper was, that was sort of the start of my career. It's
Yeah.
definitely very different now.
Yeah, okay. So what did the farm look like at that stage in terms of cow numbers, breeds, where you were selling your milk? What did it look like then when you first
At the
started?
start, when we first started, so the proposal was 280 spring calving cows.
Okay.
Organic. We did budgets for conventional, organic, autumn, spring calving, because Mike, our business partner, had both organic spring and autumn. So we just the autumn actually looked better on paper financially, but Tom knew spring better. So we decided to go with spring calving. We were lucky to get an ALA contract because, we didn't. It wasn't an add-on to one of Mike's, but at that time they were recruiting milk and they wanted organic milk. So we went through conversion. I think we did it in a year because the land hadn't been used for a year, so it was sort of we backdated and things. So we were lucky, but it was painful because we started at, I think we were 35p conventional when we went in there, which was actually quite high back then for conventional. It's not, it wouldn't be now. But by the time we converted in the year, it was 35p organic. So we'd lost that premium. So it was quite painful for a few years. But we went from 280 cows spring calving to 350 cows by year 2, because we decided to put a second block on, autumn block. We had really bad fertility in the first year. We didn't vaccinate. We bought cows from everywhere because cows were expensive. Milk price was strong. And we just, we made some silly mistakes at the start that then cost us fertility. And then we ended up with a second block of cows, which we actually have ended up keeping. And it seems to work for the farm. So yeah, we were about 350 then, and we're now about 400 cows, just naturally grown to that. So that's probably maximum on the farm we're at the moment. For infrastructure, grazing, staff, that's where it sort of sits. The blocks move around in terms of, so the calving blocks move around in terms of numbers, but that's just, it suits the milk contract. It suits us being able to, they're quite small blocks, being able to keep staff all year round in terms of busy. We don't have quite, there's a big bit in me that wants one block calving, one busy period, like, you guys would have on with crops and things, but it's just financially, it's been better for us as well to keep the balance, the milk check coming every month. But yeah, so we, in 10 years, when we finished buying, when we were buying the business out from Mike, it was 400 cows, but we'd grown from sort of 600 acres to, by the end, it was 1,200 acres, including an arable farm, which has been Tom's real passion for the last probably 18 months. I think we've had it now. So yeah, and that's sort of linked up with the dairy in terms of we're using a lot of the grain from there to feed the cows.
Yeah.
So it's sort of shifted system a bit, but enabled us to like protect the amount of forage we've got and things. And you'll know that the seasons have changed so much. You can't be out, it's not, you can't take that risk that you're going
No,
to have a good season every year now. So it's
no.
sort of, it's protected us a bit from that. And it was just too good an opportunity to not have.
Yeah. Were you always going to be organic? Was that always part of the plan? Or
No,
was it?
definitely not. No.
Okay.
I think there's so many different reasons people are organic, but for us, it was purely financial.
Okay.
It was at the beginning, it was purely financial. It was a lot of acres for a smaller set of buildings. We would have
Mm.
had to invest in more cubicles, a bigger parlour if we wanted to milk more cows there. So we were able to get a premium on the milk with less cows. Mike knew organic inside out. It, we and Tom probably would have gone conventional, but yeah, it just added up. The farm is like it's an estate owned. It's part of 1,000 acres. We rent just the land, and the organic suits it. And our landlord didn't want maize grown, so it probably got us in there. If I'm honest, like he'd
Yeah.
had a tenant before that had grown maize quite extreme. You can grow maize really well, but 1 in 5 years it might be a wet year and you're struggling to get out of the field,
Yeah.
and the landlord lives right in the middle of the farm in terms,
Okay.
he can see most of the fields. He's wants the farm looked after. That's the highest priority for him. So I think the organic probably helped get the farm. But
Yeah.
it's just become how we farm. On our second farm, we're just taking on a second unit at the moment, is going to be conventional. So it's not a moral thing for me in terms of I only think you should farm organically.
Mm.
I think you should farm what the farm suits. Home farm is it suits being organic because of the buildings, etc., and the landlord. But the next farm, it's a smaller grazing platform. It's less cows. And it's been conventional for a long time. It just suits, we will still try and farm alongside the environment as much as possible, but we will be using nitrogen when the land needs it.
Would you describe yourself as regenerative? I know you work a lot with the environment. I know Tom does a lot with composting, doesn't he? So, I mean, I sometimes just think all these things are kind of labels, but what would you describe yourself as?
It's an interesting one. The word makes me feel slightly uneasy now with
Yeah, me
regen.
too.
I just feel like I want to farm well. I
Yeah.
want to farm to look after the land we've got. I hate the word context, but that probably is the right word
Mm.
in terms of I want to farm in the right context. And I just want to make the land better than when we took it on. I'm farming for the future. We might be tenants, but it's a long-term thing, farming. And yeah, I don't know if it needs a label. If it makes people, the thing with regen, if it's made people exciting about farming and food again, great, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
But I don't need it as a label for myself. I don't need to say I'm a regenerative farmer or anything. I'm a farmer. So it's the same with the male female thing. Like I want to be a farmer. Like
Yeah.
I don't need a label alongside it. It's the same with organic. Yes, the organic enables me to have a premium on my milk, and it's the way we farm, but it's not the core of me, if that makes
No.
sense. I'm not,
No,
I'm
it does.
yeah,
It does. And
that's where
it,
I'm at.
yeah, and I'm tenant farmer as well, and I have that same. It's funny. I've struggled to. I tried to write something about this once, but I couldn't kind of do it. But it's obviously quite a bit of a different relationship as a tenant farmer than an owner occupier. But you still. I mean, I don't know whether any of my girls will want to farm, so I don't know whether we'll still be here farming in 20 years' time or not. But it kind of doesn't matter. I'm still planting hedges and planting trees and
Yeah,
doing my best because I still care about this land, even if someone else is farming it after me. But without sounding too cheesy, I hope that doesn't
no,
sound cheesy.
no. That's how I feel, Will, and I think
Yeah.
I think most farmers do want to do the best thing by their land. I
Mm.
think that we are. And I don't think there's a right or a wrong way to farm
No.
either. I think that I don't have a problem with indoor housed dairy, if that's what suits the environment there or suits the farmer. Different
Yeah,
farmers want
exactly that.
different, they just really want different things. I'm happiest out in a field with setting up fences, grazing cows. I get a lot out of seeing grass turn to milk. But I'm sure that if you asked someone who had, housed their cows, they get a lot out of seeing, creating the feed in the fields and then seeing it turned into milk inside. It's a different cow as well, Will. It's a very, very different type of cow. So I just see, it's a million ways to produce milk. So,
Yeah.
yeah, as long as the person's enjoying it, I think we're very lucky to enjoy what we do. I don't want to carry on doing farming if I'm not enjoying it.
No. No. I get the feeling that is just from. I mean, I don't know you that well, but I follow. We've had bits of chat, and I follow you on social media, and I get the feeling that enjoyment factor is really important to you and the team of people that you have working there. It seems like watching from afar, it's a really enjoyable place to work.
Yeah, I hope so. You have to ask my team, but they might say something very different. I think, I think because it is early mornings, and it is, it's not always the glamorous thing, of you're gonna get covered in cow poo. I want to say shit, but maybe the podcast, there we go.
That's
But
fine.
you are, it's but I do want people to enjoy their job, because people then do a better job if they're
Yeah.
enjoying it. It's simple, and I feel lucky to do a job that I enjoy. So trying to show that to other people who think, it was never offered to me as a career, and I didn't have a family farm. My godfather, actually, who we farm his arable farm now, that's how that came about. Some of my happiest memories as a child were going there, driving around the crops. They didn't have animals as such, but I grew up sort of in that, going there and that being a happy part of it. And I just thought, actually, a lot of our team are not from farming backgrounds, and I think we're very lucky that we can give people the opportunity as well. We actually have ended up with quite a few part-time staff as well, and I find that works for us, because they come in with the energy, lift the team. I don't want the team working more than a 5-day week. I'm not comfortable. There was a point where the traditional farming week was 12 on, 2 off, and
Yeah.
I don't. That's not comfortable for me. And I think, having worked outside of the sector, I appreciate that time off
Yeah.
and understanding that people have lives outside of their job. So we try and make it flexible, and the team try and swap days off between them. We've probably, we've got 2 part-time members of staff and 2 full-time members of staff, and then Tom and myself. We do a lot of stuff in-house. Just have ended up, I think Tom has slight machinery fetish, which has ended up, I love the cows, so we balance each other, but it does mean we do, we have a slurry tanker, so we do some of that stuff ourselves. So we've got one, both our 2 full-time people have been with us at 4 years each, and they've trained through us. One was an apprentice with us, and then the other came on age 19, having only worked in a pub. I like giving opportunities. We have a lot of students come in. We've got a classroom on site now, so that helps. That enables the team as well to have somewhere to hang out other than the farm. If they on lunch, they don't have to sort of go and sit in their cars or anything. If they're that's and in the winter, when it's cold, they've got somewhere and make a cup of tea and things like that. But also we've got somewhere we can host people and have school visits on farm. It's made a big difference to the business.
Yeah.
But I feel lucky. I just want people who don't realise that farming could be a good option for them. It does pay very well if if some people end up with a house and a good salary. It's very expensive to live in the countryside now. So actually the accommodation and things, that sort of thing does add up.
Yeah. Social media, I feel like you've used that in a very positive way. You're obviously very passionate about engaging with the wider community and telling that farming and food production story. I feel like you've done that from the beginning. Why do you feel the need to do that, other than the fact that you obviously love the job and lifestyle?
I think, it started in COVID, when we were sort of a lot of my friends live in London, and they were obviously locked down like us, and I started it, and then I gave up after a couple of months, and they were like, oh, we really miss seeing the cows, like we just love that routine. And we were able to carry on with our job, whereas they were stuck in houses, flats, it was, they really enjoyed it. And I think I really don't like when people complain about milk price, or complain, yes, we are going to complain if the price goes down, etc. But I feel like meeting it with positivity and, trying to engage, not saying it's going to change how people drink milk or get us an extra penny on the milk price, but it for me, it was a way that I could positively make steps and feel like I was doing something. And, like some of our team have come off social media in terms of we've said we're advertising, and they've come through that way. And a lot of my generation and your generation probably as well, we're not far apart, Will.
Yes, not far apart.
No,
Yeah,
not
so
far
I'll
apart
take
at all.
that. I'll take that.
But they are the ones that were thinking about going vegan, and I just feel like some of it was through understanding of what goes into milk, and some of it was the nutrition side, but I think some of it was they didn't really know, and so the vegan movement would do a better job of advertising. So actually, there was that. I think we've lost a bit of that now, and people are coming back to healthy, nutritious food. Definitely are seeing that.
Great.
But I just think it's such an easy, free way to open the gate. But what you have to be careful with social media is that it doesn't run your life.
Yeah.
I have to be very specific that I'm there to do what I want to do. I'm not there to, I'm not there to set up the camera for hours on end, and I'm not doing YouTube as such, because I don't have time to do that.
No.
At the moment, it's not what I've got time for. I got time to take some, videos of cows crossing the road, or, in the milking parlour, this is what we're doing. But I don't tend to do big, long things. And I'm try and be quite about scrolling myself, and about when I post stuff, just because otherwise it can take over your life. And I think there is a negative side to it as well. But we're doing Open Farm Sunday this year, and I'm just using it at the moment to really tell people that we're doing it, and get people who are coming to help with Open Farm Sunday why they're excited about coming to Open Farm Sunday, what they're going to be showing people, just that sort of thing. And it's a free tool that, if we like it or not, most of the younger generation are on.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk about that Open Farm Sunday. Certainly, farmers in the UK and a lot of the public here will be aware of it, and it's one Sunday of the year, and farmers can throw open their gates and have visitors to the farm. We've talked about it on the podcast before, but have you done it before? Is this the first time you've done it, or?
No, well, we haven't done it before. We're part of something called a cluster group, which some people listening might be part of. We created this cluster group, I think 2 years ago. We had a bit of funding towards some events together, and we all live within, I think we're within 7 miles of each other. Most of the land connects. Anyway, it became actually the driving force within the cluster that every year we were going to open for Open Farm Sunday on a different farm.
Okay.
Just to give the locals a different taste of farming through the Vale. So we're in Marshwood Vale. And so the first year, Denhay opened their agro-tourism, rare breeds, it had been a big dairy farm, so people got to see the conversion. And then last year was a big commercial dairy and arable sheep, quite a mixed farm. And we helped, so everyone helps on each farm. So we've got a team of about 70 of us. So
wow.
Definitely not me doing it on my own. Just everything. Yeah, George sort of runs the show in terms of he organises the volunteers. And yeah, we all do it together, which I think makes it much more manageable. We had about 1,500 people last year, which was great. It's quite in a town, that farm. So I hope we'll get about between 500 and 1,000, I think. But we're just this year using it to shout about dairy farming, great grass-based dairy farming. Everything from samples from our milk buyer through to the local vets who do all of our veterinary, and we're going to host some little talks in the classrooms, so 20-minute ones. So our vet's going to talk about her involvement in the farm and what it means to be a vet. And then we've got sort of Wessex Water coming to talk about how they support farmers in terms of grant money, but also water testing. You know, every part of our business is going to be there. Tractor trailer rides. It's free. Yeah, it's free for anyone. 8th of June is the date. The bar's going to be open, which will be great. We're going to roast a whole cow. So we've got a cow roast going on. Lots of local food there, and it should be a really good day out. I think it's just so important to open that gate to the public, and I think being part of something that happens all over the country makes that a lot more powerful as well, because people can choose, you know, they can do a couple of farms in a day, you know, and Leaf are very good at promoting the whole thing. So it's sort of, and our milk buyer, they do a whole big push on it as well. So we're doing it collectively. It's definitely not me doing it on my own. It's a big task, but I think people just the farmers involved get such an enjoyment out of talking directly to the public, and this is just giving an opportunity to that.
Yeah, no, that sounds amazing. Sounds amazing. If we lived closer, I'd come along. But no,
oh, thanks. It's far.
Sounds brilliant. How do you manage everything you do? Have you got any? Because I mean, you're doing a Nuffield as well, aren't you? Have you finished that, or are you still doing that?
I'm nearly. So I've got to submit my reports in end of June. So
okay.
I'm pretty much done on my travelling, and I have to present in Aberdeen in November. So
okay. And the title of that is Future
of Organic Dairy.
Okay.
So it's been a massive roller coaster. It's brought a lot to our business in terms of being able to have a view of other systems from around the world, and you know, I was so lucky to be able to do it and be given the space to do it. I had 2 months even travel back to back, November, December last year, which was incredible. And everything from Azerbaijan through to Taiwan to Indonesia, Australia, you know, I just really went to places that I would never get the opportunity to travel to. And saw farming done in so many different ways, not just dairy, not just organic. And I think it just gave me, you know, it's very easy to get behind your farm gate and not get out. And I think it just gave me a massive perspective, and ability to manage a lot of things going on in my life. You sort of started asking, well, I mean, I like to be busy in terms of, you know, that's, you know, my happy place is having things on and doing different things. But I'm lucky. My dad's very good in terms of he helps a lot with the children. And then I think there's a lot of energy that comes from doing stuff you love.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably what keeps me going. I have to be very mindful of burnout, because I put a lot of energy into things. I'm not very good at doing things half-hearted.
Yeah.
So I have to be very conscious. Yeah. I know you're similar, Will. And so I have to be conscious of burnout. And I think probably I did struggle, if I'm honest, when I came back from those 2 months to integrate back into the farm. Because everyone was doing a good job at home. And I just was trying to find where I sat in that. And it was the winter. I don't like winters in the UK in terms of cold, and I'm just not, you know, I know most people don't. I really find them hard. And so I did struggle coming back, and it's taken me a while to get into the groove again. But I wouldn't change it. You know, it was an amazing opportunity. And I think it's made me probably a bit more brave in our decisions. You know, there's no way I would have got behind doing a second farm if it hadn't have been from being able to get off the farm and seeing the business run without me, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does make sense. I think, sometimes that, you're not the first person who's done a Nuffield or done something that's involved a significant amount of time away from the farm who said that, because it's we all think that the place will fall apart if we're not there, don't we? And then
absolutely,
it's surprising how it doesn't. Something to get your head around.
Definitely.
Okay. What are your future plans? You've got an awful lot going on at the moment, but where would you like the farm? Where would you and Tom like to be with the farm in maybe 5-10 years time? I guess it depends if the kids are going to get involved. And
I mean, we've very much said to Harry that if he wants to do the farm, he needs to go off and work for other people first, do some travel, and you know, we've got 9 years now on the main tenancy at home. And if at that end of that, then Harry's, he'll be 26. If he wants to do the farm, then it's for him to come home, and Tom and I will go and do something else, or maybe the business will have grown that we have got, and the other farm to run. But I don't know. Tom always says he doesn't want to die a tenant, so that's a big thing for him. He wants to buy, whether we buy farm in the UK or whether we buy land elsewhere, I don't know, but that is on the agenda. And I think probably we've sort of avoided it slightly in terms of committing to it, because it seems like such a big step and unachievable thing. But I think that is, that's the end goal, is buying a farm, even if it's not a dairy that we, the size we were doing at home. Buying something that we live on, or run heifers on, or a smaller dairy. That is probably the long-term plan, I think. At the moment, I think we've just got someone to come and not mediate, but hold us accountable again within our business between Tom and I, and she's pushing us to set goals and things, because I think you need someone else to say, oh, what do you actually want in 5 years, 10 years, and then say, oh, is that actual decision taking you closer or further away from that goal? Because it's very easy to say yes to every opportunity that comes along, when actually it might not be the right thing for the family or the business. So we've got someone, sort of like a family board type thing, who it's been very positive. So we're hoping that gives us a shove towards what we really want.
Yeah, I feel like mentors have been very important to you in your career.
Yeah, hugely.
Yeah.
Hugely, absolutely. Well, there's no way we would have got to where we are without a business partner, and also without other people who've helped along the way. I've had some great people who've pushed me to do Nuffield, supported me through that, and then getting external help when you need it. That is important. You can't do everything. So getting professional advice when you need it isn't a weakness.
No, absolutely not. All right then. There's so much I could talk to you about, but I guess we could be here all day. So I'm gonna wrap this up with the 5 hard hitting questions. If you're ready, what's the best gig you've ever been to? You can count Glastonbury as a gig if you want.
I'm going to say Glastonbury, because it's every year is different, and the memories, it's been such a part of our lives that I can't imagine not going. So probably Glastonbury.
What's the best act you've ever seen at Glastonbury?
Or Coldplay, I've seen them twice, and although that's not my natural music, I really like R&B and sort of gangster rap type stuff more. Coldplay are just such good performance. Adele was incredible.
Yeah.
Dua Lipa, like that. Just the incredible. You see that. Yeah, she's great, isn't she? Yeah, she's beautiful. So I think the people who perform well make such a difference. But I've seen Jay-Z at Glastonbury, but actually, and I love him as an artist, but it's the ones that have performances that do. Adele is incredible live. Yeah. So that lot would be definitely favourites.
Okay. What's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
So I was thinking about this. I've been given lots of great advice, but our business partner once said, in our first good financial account, we had the first couple of years, obviously, setting it up was expensive, etc. But when we had a good set of accounts, he said, just remember you make your own luck. Mm-hmm. So I think it's, we can say, oh, you've been so lucky to have a great business partner, but actually we positioned ourselves in a place that we got that business partner, if that makes sense. So I always say that you are in control of that. You can place yourself in the right place. With Mike, we knew that he, even before we went into partnership with him rearing his calves, we knew he walked every Sunday his dog round his farm, which was next door to us. So we bumped into him, accidentally on purpose. We knew that he did that. So we built, that might sound a bit stalkerish, but we knew, but you know what I mean? We placed ourselves in the right place to get that opportunity. But I think we can restrict ourselves by saying, oh, that person's really lucky to get that, or we can be hard done by, but actually you can go out there and make your own luck.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, what's that phrase? The harder you work, the luckier you get, or something like that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I like that.
What's the best book you've ever read?
I read a really good book on the history of milk, which a friend recommended, and it's just we don't actually realise what a place milk had in our society, in terms of everything from the milk round to like where the cows were by the brewery, just because the brewer's grain, the history of it.
Mm,
Every dairy farmer should read it. I think it's called The History of Milk, and you can get it online. But this guy dedicated a lot of his life to researching it, and it is fascinating. He's done one on cod, done one on salt, but he really is by a guy called Mark. I can't remember his surname, but you'll find it easily. But it is absolutely fascinating, and I think anyone involved in the dairy sector should read it, because it just makes you realise what a part milk has had in every part of our lives through the last hundreds of years.
just written it down. No, I will.
Yeah, it's great.
I'll definitely check that out. If you could meet any historical figure, who would it be and why?
I've been thinking about this, and I don't, she's not a historical figure, but I really wish that I'd met my dad's mum. And she died before I was born.
Okay.
But she was born in Argentina. My dad's family are Argentine, and everyone who knew her just said she was magical. And my auntie was very like her, and I'm very like her in terms of looks. We just look very similar, and I feel sad that we never got to. She died young. We never got to meet her, but she was a real fiery character, and I'm sad that I didn't get to know her. But there's lots. She wrote diaries and things. There's lots of bits that I've found out about her since, but I just wish that I had got to meet her.
That's a lovely answer. Okay. Lastly, then, hardest question: what is your all-time favorite song?
Well, it's really difficult because I love a mix of music, like everything from Coldplay to Sean Paul to Eminem, and I just love. We as part of our nephew, we went to Brazil, and there was this song that everyone played, which was Sean Paul Temperature, and it's not you put it on and it just lifts the mood. So it's not everyone's taste, but it was definitely that time, and it was fun. We all had great fun. So I think I think that would be my like go-to fun. Put it on in the parlor, everyone gets dancing, and it's a good energy song.
Awesome. Okay. Sophie, it's been brilliant to speak to you. Thank you so much for spending the time. I think it's been very evident that you are extremely busy. So thank you
Sorry
for
about the
finding the time.
technical issues, but it's been great. I feel an honour, and I'm so glad Rock and Roll Farming's back on.
Thank you.
It's such it was one of the first podcasts that I listened to, and it's been really real honour to see you guys come back. So keep going with it, Will.
That's lovely, and hopefully catch up with you somewhere this summer.
Yeah, I'm sure. Groundswell, there'll be something. Yeah.
No doubt. All right then. Thank you everybody for listening, and thanks for all the nice messages I've had on social media and stuff lately. It's been really nice. I haven't got around to replying to everyone because I've been very busy farming, but I will do. But thank you very much. If you know anyone who would be good on the podcast, anyone who's doing something different or very positive in UK farming, give me a shout. Or if you feel like you'd like to come on, please get in touch. You know the rules: no dickheads, good vibes only. My email address is in the show notes, so just give me a shout there. And to everyone at home, thanks for listening, and hope to see you next time. I've been Will Evans. This has been Rock and Roll Farming. Thank you and good night.